What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. Yeah, with your boy, Mike Goodwin, the bow-tied comedian. And as I start the most recent podcast episode, because we're going to go back to On the Road next week. But this week, we're still not on the road. So we're going to start with Mind of Mike. Now, I don't know if you are on my email list. If you aren't, shame on you. I send out an email every week, typically on Wednesdays. They're on Tuesdays, but they're on Wednesdays. If you want to receive one of these emails, just go to my website, mikegoodwin.com. There's a prompt that'll pop up. You can put your email address in. Matter of fact, you'll get a free download of a stand-up comedy show I did in Wiley, Texas, called Live Wiley, Texas. That's very, very creative, right? And you'll be abreast to upcoming dates and different events that I have coming on. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing a live here on July 10th on Facebook, talking about my upcoming tour. I guess I'll drop it here. I have the Big Dad Energy Tour that's coming this fall. We have some dates. We have a few dates. The main date will be in September, the kickoff date, September. At this stage, we'll be in Charlotte, Columbia, South Carolina, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Columbus. And Tampa, we need to figure that one out. But those are, so stay abreast. But on the email I send out every week, I'll give some information about, some idea, something that I'm thinking about. But I also started going through my joke books, because I have a number of joke books that I just haven't put the jokes on stage. So in my email, I put one of the jokes that I ran across. I was like, man, that's funny. Let me put it in the email, see what people are saying. People had good responses. So I think I'm going to figure out how to do it on stage. And so the joke, I'll give you an idea of what it is here, because it's not ready. I'm not doing it on stage. I haven't done it on stage. But I think that there's some legs, and the joke is the idea around, people tell you not to put all your eggs in one basket. Well, my thoughts, what qualifies you to give that advice? Did you grow up on a farm? Are you familiar with eggs in baskets and the carrying of eggs? Because the advice just isn't practical. Have you tried to carry multiple baskets full of eggs? Full of eggs. It's a disaster. Now, I didn't grow up on a farm, but I did work at the grocery store as a bag boy. And one of the most challenging things to take out were eggs. And the only thing that you could put in the bag with eggs was other eggs. You can't put eggs in bleach. That don't work. Bread is probably the only thing that you can put. Bread is acceptable. You can put bread. You can't put eggs in bleach. You can't put eggs in a case of soda. It's just, nope, doesn't work it. And I'm talking about eggs in a carton. I'm not talking about uncartoned eggs. What do you call uncartoned eggs? Naked eggs? So you're just out there carrying naked eggs in multiple baskets? Come on, man. You are not going to be successful. You need to put all those eggs in that basket. Why don't we tell people not to be clumsy, huh? Not to trip over your feet. Don't put all your eggs in one bag. No, stop fumbling and bumbling and falling down and dropping your eggs. That's what you need to tell people. Walk circumspectly. That's what we need to be telling people, because I don't feel like that advice translates to other parts outside of the egg analogy. We don't tell people, hey, don't put all your belongings in one house. You don't say that. We don't say, hey, don't put all your clothes in one closet. Matter of fact, that's your desire as a young couple. When I was first got married, my clothes were not in the closet. My clothes were at my mama's house. I had to go and get dressed at mama. That's when you know. So I think there's a whole piece about closets, and when you first get married, master walk-in closets. So there's some more there. And then where I'll end it, I think, is it's the goal to put all your stuff in one. But I think the way to end it is say, you must say, don't put all your love in one marriage, huh? Is that? So we're gonna work on that. That is a joke. Eggs in one basket. I'll probably give you some updates and information. As y'all also know, my producer of the podcast, Jeremy Harriet, he's always sending me things to comedy fodder. So he sent this the other day. It said, "What's a word for two dudes that hang occasionally because their girlfriends are best friends?" And in the social media post, the answer was homie-in-law. That was, so the two dudes that hang together because their girlfriends are best friends are called homie-in-law. I wrote a few. A junior brother, that could be one. First brother friend could be a name that you use. I typically call him old boy, especially if I don't really know your name well. I'll be like, we going out with Stacy and old boy. But I know a Stacy. I know old boy. Big homie is a word, a term that I use. I'm also big on physical description. If I don't know your name, so if I know you, don't come and ask me how I talk, how I say, because I if I know you, I say your name. Like, it's people I really don't know, like that person. If there's a girlfriend, best friend, my wife and her girlfriends, yeah, we weren't really kicking it with her. Like, I remember kicking it with one guy, but I knew his name because he was a coach. He coached basketball. I was very intrigued by that. He was coaching it like at the college level. So I knew his name. I don't think I know it now because they're not together. But I would use either physical descriptions or like a nickname. So I would call like Big Teeth. I'm like, man, we hanging out with Big Teeth this weekend, huh? Or Lady Hands. I think that might be a way that I would describe, dude with lady hands. But the interesting thing about that, when I say these things, people know exactly who I'm talking about. People are always like, oh, I can't believe you said that, but you knew who I was talking about. Dude with the lady hands. You know what I'm talking about. Roger the Rabbit, just kind of nicknames. That's what I would do if I didn't know the dude. Like, if I didn't know the guy, and it was like the guy that occasionally, now if that's her, like if they're married, that's our husband, that's different. Boyfriends, Big Teeth. Hey, I guess Big Teeth gonna be there. Tell Big Teeth I said what up. And then my wife's like, Mike, stop saying that. All right, people. Now it's time for the moment you've been waiting for. The best advice ever. And I'm kind of cheating a little bit today. A little bit I'm cheating because the best advice ever comes from a keynote that I do. I do a keynote called Leadership and Laughter. And I talk about the 3 leadership principles or insights that I implemented to my comedy to move me from being a mediocre presenter to being a world-class communicator or a comedian, right? Because I was bad, man. When I first started doing stand-up, I mean, I'm not. So here's the story. This is the legit story. Once, if you know, I got started because a comedian Akintunde at my church. So I had my first event was at my church. I did a New Year's Eve service. I was a surprise. No one knew that I was coming. And I'm beloved in my church. Like, people know me. I've been in my church for years. So it's all good. It's home court, home field advantage initially. Now, the longer you're there, woo, it get a little rocky. So I think now I'm at the point of, like, I can do things in my church regularly, and it goes well, and I feel good about it. But that's a conversation to be had, because even my pastor talked to me about that at one point, because it's difficult. It's difficult to go in front of the folks that you've been, because I came up in front of these people, so I've been doing these jokes or some version of these jokes since the beginning. But this was my first time. No one knew. I was a surprise guest. I went out there, did 7 minutes, rocked the house, man. Standing ovation. It was from a movie. If you were going to film a movie, like a lifelong desire to go on stage, but this was the beginning of the movie. This wasn't the end. This was a great, hey, if I was just trying to do comedy one time and then I was going to go to my job and be the college counselor of America. Just like, I got the little feather in my cap of doing stand-up. But no, this was the beginning. So I had a standing ovation. My first time out, did 7 minutes, rocked. And it wasn't a small crowd. It was a big church. Our church, it may have been 1,000 people at my first stand-up show. Some folks get up in front of 7 people and 30 people. I was probably up in front of, I don't know, if 1,000. I don't know how many people fit in the sanctuary that we're currently in, but it was full. So 1,000 may be a little bit more of a stretch. It might have been 700, but it was a few hundred, more than a few hundred. My first time, rocked, killed. Then I bombed for the next 2 years. Terrible. Stunk up the joint. Like, not good. Not even on no humble type stuff. I'm not being trying to show my humility. No, I was not good. I was good enough to not quit, because I felt inside that this is what I should be doing. And then the other analogy that I often use when I talk about this is, if you play golf, and I'm not a golfer, but I've trained, I've taken some lessons, and there was a stretch of time where I played fairly regularly. Well, one of the things that helps your game as you are improving on the links is to go to the driving range. You go to the driving range and you just get a bucket of balls and you just hit your balls. So you just get the different clubs, and you are trying to figure out your swing, what clubs you have an affinity for, and you're practicing. You're just basically, your breathing, your stance. Did you turn your wrist too soon? Did you drop your head? All the things, all the mechanics. And I would go out to the driving range with this big bucket of balls, and I would have, I don't even know how many balls in there, but let's say you hit 12 balls and they were terrible. They go off to the left, you shank it, they dribble down the little hill. But then you hit one ball, like the right way with the perfect swing, and that thing pops either off the ground or off the tee. Like, the swing's fluid, you hit it, flush, and that ball is in. And it's man, when you hit a golf ball, a good shot, woo, it's a beautiful thing to behold. So you may hit 50 balls terribly, or 49 balls terribly, but you hit that one ball, it gives you the encouragement, if I can do that one time, I surely can do it again. Like, that's all. And I'm that type of person. I just need one win. I don't need to always get it right. I don't need to have all things fall in place. If there's an inkling that I'm going to succeed, you shouldn't have showed me that. I'm gonna go get it. That's where I am right now. I'm gonna kind of brag a little bit on this weight loss. I'm at the point of, I haven't been on the scale recently, but I'm under. I think I'm under 20 pounds of weight loss, but I'm at the stage where I've gotten through the wilderness, so to speak. Like I've realized that my eating, my sleeping, all the things that I'm doing is contributing. So now I'm encouraged. Now I'm like, okay, let's double down on this. Let's put a little lighter fluid on. Let's really focus. Versus in times past, I lose the 20 and be like, all right, got my suit back on, got my jacket back on. We can go back to our evil ways, our evil eating ways. Well, I don't feel like that. I feel like, oh yeah, let's kick it up. Let's double down on it. And that's how I felt in general with comedy. So I would be on stage and I would be bad. It wouldn't be good. I had good material, my performance primarily. That's where I really stuck it up. My performance was not good. And even my delivery, even some of the content was good content, but even the way I chose to deliver it wasn't good. But I would have a night where there would be a joke that hit, or a set would be a good set. And I'm like, oh, I just need to figure out how to do this more. And the other thing that was very frustrating to me, I was absolutely hilarious in the car on the way to the show. Like on the way to the show, I was killing. And I'm not even I'm not trying to downplay, upplay. I'm speaking facts. If we're roasting in the car, you don't want to see me. And I would be in the car with these comedians rocking, and they get right up on that stage and like it would not be well. But what I started to do was evaluate my approach. At that point, I was a grown man. I'm 30 at the time, and I had a career. I'd been in the military. I'd gotten a master's in higher administration. I mean, I'm a successful dude. I have the wherewithal to look at something. I've advised organizations. I had a lot of skills. And so I said, okay, let's take a look at this set. Let's look at this comedy, and we got to get this stronger. And so I took these 3 principles. The one I'll talk to you about is the best advice ever today is to be present. And that was one of the, when I was on my journey, I realized for me to really do well on stage, I needed to be present. I was showing up and I was doing comedy, but I wasn't there mentally. Like, just because your body's somewhere, it doesn't mean that mentally you're there. In my keynote, I talk about if you were to call 911 100 times, how many times would you want someone to answer the phone? And it's 100. Nobody's ever said 49, 87. It's 100% of the time. So in being present, it's imperative. Whatever that is in your life, be present in your marriage, be present with your children, be present in relationships with friends. Show up 100% of the time. Like, be there. Be where your feet are. Show up 100% of the time. So be present. The other thing as it relates to that, you can only live in one of 3 places. You can live in the past, you can live in the future, but the most profitable place for you to live is in the present. And it's difficult. It's very difficult to be present because we are bombarded by distractions. We are constantly being distracted. We're constantly being pulled off of the path that we had that's already established for us. There are things we walk in many places with our distraction in our hand. So it's imperative for you to practice the skill of being present. You can practice it. I mean, I walk into, and I'm sensitive to this because I'm of a certain age. When we didn't have cell phones when I was a young person. So when I'm on the highway and I'm driving and I see people that are they're more focused on their phone than the traffic light. The lights turn green, but they are on their phone. And again, I'm not driving with my phone like that. Like, my phone's available to me, but I'm not driving. Like, some people are like, the driving part is getting in the way of them being on the phone. Like, the phone is getting in the way of me driving. If I'm on the phone, I'm having a conversation with someone. I'm not just on Facebook scrolling and driving somewhere. I have the ability to listen to a podcast or just drive. Like, sometimes I drive and it's quiet. So I understand that I have a different paradigm, but I have a daughter now who has a driver's license. And when she's driving, no, you're not. When you stop at a stoplight, that's not the time for you to look at your phone. You know, if somebody texts you, you're like, okay, I'll get back to them or whatever. But yeah, that's just not how I go into stores, grocery stores, because that is a soft spot in my heart. I used to work in a grocery store. And I walk in and people aren't filling up bags like back in the day when we didn't have customers. We would go get bags and fill up the bags. We would go get buggies out the parking lot. We would go box the aisles. Basically, if there are gaps in the aisle, you just pull the product from the back up to the front. So basically, when you fill the aisles, you have products that go all the way to the back. Well, then people buy them, and then there's only 4 in that spot where you pull them up to the front. You go over to produce and you move. You know, if they're empty spots, you move the celery into place. You do things that help the store, as opposed to just standing there at the register on your phone. Now, at the register is a little different. So if you're standing at the register and there's nothing that's happening, you can fill your bags with the register. You can also look at your money and go get change. You can go take the big bills over to the like the whatever they call that bookkeeper. You can clean your register. You can take the baskets that people have brought to your registers back to there's things to be done. And I would implore you, I'm asking you to think about how can you be more present in your life. And I would love to hear, what are things that you do currently to ensure that you're present? Like when I'm in church, I put my phone down. I try not to get on that Facebook, because I can easily get on that Facebook. I could easily get on that Instagram. But I put my phone down. I just recently started bringing my Bible back, because I was like, I could just go on the Bible app. But I'm not just going to be on the Bible app. I'm going to be on my phone looking at other stuff. They ain't got nothing to do with the Bible app. So I brought my physical Bible to service. So I encourage you, hit me up at info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. Let me know what you do to be more present. All right. So our beloved producer of the podcast, Jeremy Harriet, sent me these HR stories that's on the website Reddit. And so I'm going to discuss what you're not going to do from this HR perspective. So this person said, I had to terminate an employee, and the conversation went like this. The employee says, "Why are you firing me?" The director says, "Because you peed on our building." What you're not going to do is urinate at your job on buildings. There's a bathroom, latrine. John, there's number of ways that number of words we have for for bathrooms. But this person said it was an emergency. And then the director says, we have bathrooms. But I was outside on my break. We have bathrooms. I was on break. So why are you firing me? Because you peed on our building. But I was on break. You peed on our building. You're still fired. But it was my break. Can't I do what I want on my break? You cannot pee on the building. This is a legit conversation. What you're not gonna do is try to defend, like, you are an adult. You know when you gotta use the bathroom. So my assumption, I know we should not assume because we know what it makes out of folks. But my assumption just fell out there smoking cigarette and all of a sudden, like, oh man, I got to use the bathroom now. I got a choice. I don't want to put this cigarette out. I'm enjoying this cigarette. I tell you what, I'm gonna finish this cigarette and I'm gonna go urinate on the building, man. It's some wild people out here. And as y'all know, I have different little clips I find in the newspaper. This is in Delaware. Police are searching for a woman who said pepper sprayed a group of cyclists while they rode past her on the Minions Conaway Road and the Nassau Bridge on the Georgetown Laos Trail. Who is out here pepper spraying bike ride? What you not gonna do? District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., a former YMCA employee, it was sentenced to 41 months in prison for buying more than 1,000 cell phones for the organization and then reselling them. What? Not at the YMCA. What you're not going to do is embezzle phones and flip them. They flipping flip phones. And the last one. Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, a 14-year-old boy stole a school bus on Saturday and drove it around the city before police were able to capture the teen as he tried to turn it around in the middle of Interstate 40. First off, when I was a kid, they allowed teenagers to drive school bus. I was being driven to school by a friend of mine. A friend of mine, his brother, was driving us to school. And this dude couldn't even keep his room clean. So now my man was just throwing back. He was going back in the day. He's going back in the days when teenagers were driving buses. They're not driving buses anymore. But some days I still wish I was a bus driver. That was my man was trying to do. He's trying to tap in. Probably his uncle or aunt used to drive school bus. He got that bus driving gene, that CDL gene in his blood. Some people could just jump inside those big vehicles and make it happen. This man's trying to turn around. And who takes a bus on the interstate and tries to turn? What you're not gonna do is not know where your child is and he out here stealing school buses. That's what you're not gonna do. Well, thank y'all so much for listening to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. I would love for you to rate, subscribe, to let folks know about the show. The more I can get folks talking about it, the better. I would love for more people to know. I need people to, have a laugh. On the way to work, doing cardio, get your laugh on. If you want to send me any insights, you can email me at info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. You can also follow me on all the social media platforms. I'm at Bowtie Comedy on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm at Comedian Mike Goodwin on YouTube and Facebook. Man, holla at your boy. Join my email list at mikegoodwin.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat place, same bat time. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate it. See you next week. Peace.